Let's go back in time 19 months. According to a CBS Sports article, they took an early look at the top 20 NFL draft eligible college football players. These were supposed to be the guys who would take the field in 2023, and James Williams was ranked inside of that. From there, pretty much every scout and every database projected Williams to be a late first-round pick to at latest a second-round pick. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, and it looked like he was going to pan out on all the potential he had. One more big season in 2023, and Williams was going to be a future franchise player. Sadly, as we now flash forward to May of 2024, James Williams fell all the way to the 7th round. In my opinion, he had one of the biggest draft stock crashes of any prospect in this year's draft, and in today's video, we're going to talk about that. I've been doing videos over the last few days over players whose stock crashed, as we've already taken a look at players such as Keaton Slovis, Frank Gore Jr., and most recently Sam Hartman. Today we're going to take a look at James Williams. We're going to talk about how he became a 5-star recruit to begin with, how his career at Miami went, and ultimately why he went from a future potential first-round pick to now a guy who fell to the 7th round. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I could cover next. Now let's get started and talk about what happened to James Williams. In order to understand how James Williams got to this point, we first need to go back in time. James grew up in the town of Plantation, Florida, which was located just west of Fort Lauderdale in Broward County. This is a part of the Miami metro area and has one of the largest population centers in the state of Florida. He always grew up in the shadow of the Miami Hurricanes and did actually like the program a lot. Williams was born in 2003, which was right near the end of the Hurricanes' dominance. This was their last year in the Big East before they would eventually move over to the ACC in the year of 2004. He grew up with stories of Hurricane greats all over the town, and everyone, including him, knew how great Miami football should and could be. Williams was always a phenomenal athlete, and he was an instant star the second he got onto the football field. At first, he played for American Heritage High School, which is a 5A program located in Plantation, and honestly, they're one of the best known programs in the country. He ended up playing the safety position, and part of his great ability was the fact that he was absolutely massive for a defensive back. He'd been playing safety since he was a freshman for American Heritage, and he could have played anywhere on defense. His measurables had him standing at 6'5", and he weighed 215 pounds. But to couple with that, he had great size, great speed, and had extreme athleticism, and he became a great player at the safety spot. His high school coach said, quote, "I'm pretty sure if we lined him up at defensive end, he probably would have had 20 sacks. He does everything well. That's why I think he is such a special player." Plenty of other coaches and scouts thought so too as well, as NFL scout Andrew Ivins said, quote, "James Williams is a unicorn of a prospect, and he will eventually be an NFL draft pick." As a freshman in 2017, he led the team with 62 tackles and also had 4 interceptions. This was on an American Heritage team that was on a 27-game winning streak and was actually undefeated. They ended up winning the 5A state championship for football, and he played in a future secondary that was loaded with defensive talent. 2 future NFL corners, such as Tyson Campbell and Pat Surtain II, both played alongside him on defense, and James Williams was next in line. In my eyes, the craziest part about it all, though, is that he was actually considered the freakiest of the 3 of them. Williams was supposed to be next. Like you'd probably expect, he was getting Division I scholarships as a true freshman. This was before he even played many snaps, and this was because of how big and how much potential he had. Louisville and Syracuse were the first 2 schools to offer him, and this would come by the end of his freshman campaign. The 3rd school to offer him was the Miami Hurricanes, and this also came just after his freshman year had ended. After a couple of visits, he decided later that spring that he would already commit to head coach Mark Richt and the Miami Hurricanes. His head coach said, quote, "I just think Miami builds a better relationship with the kids. It seemed like in the past, out-of-state schools knew more about us than the guys in our own backyard, but they have definitely reached out and attempted to build a better relationship with the kids that we have here." Williams would continue to be great, as he earned first-team All-County as a sophomore in 2018, and this was his first year as a Miami commit. He ended up having 64 tackles and had 4 more interceptions. After his sophomore year at American Heritage, he decided to transfer to another high school known as Davie Western. He'd go there for his junior campaign, and while he was there, he had 62 tackles, 2.5 TFLs, and 1 sack. He also had 6 interceptions, one of which was a pick 6. To go alongside that, he also had 5 forced fumbles and 1 fumble recovery. Because of how good he was named a Max Preps Junior All-American First Team, and he helped Western win a district title and make an appearance in the 8A state playoffs. Sadly, he'd only last 1 year there before he decided to transfer back to American Heritage for his senior season. While he was back at American, he became a USA Today USA All-Preseason First Team pick. That's pretty dang good. He was considered one of the 22 best players in high school football, and he would end up finishing his senior season with 74 tackles, 4 TFLs, 3 sacks, 2 picks, 2 forced fumbles, and multiple block kicks and punts. He was selected to the Under Armour All-American game and was named a U.S. Army All-American as well. By the time he had graduated high school, James Williams was a 5-star recruit, the number 1 safety in the class of 2021, and the 14th best recruit in his class. Not only was he dominant in high school, but he grew and went from 215 to 230 pounds. Even though Miami had moved on from Coach Richt in 2019, he was being led by Manny Diaz. He was still fine with Manny Diaz and decided to stick with the Hurricanes. So, how would James end up doing there? Well, let's take a look. As a 6'5" freshman, there were some thoughts that James could be redshirted and moved to linebacker once he got to campus. While he did perform really well at summer practice, he was expected to get some playing time, but he would probably sit behind their starter Javon Hall and make some spot start duties. But things got interesting as Hall got suspended after the 5th game of the year, and James would make his first career start as a true freshman against Central Connecticut. He would then go on to start for the rest of the season until he would injure his groin. He ended up playing 10 games his freshman year and had 31 tackles, half a TFL, 2 picks, and 2 passes defended. He was an honorable mention All-ACC selection, and it looked like everything was looking up for him. Behind the scenes at Miami, this would end up being the last year of Manny Diaz being the head coach, and they only managed to go 7-5. They ended up bringing in Mario Cristobal to be the head coach in 2022, and he brought a new defense with him, and James was set to feature in it. He said, quote, "It'll be one heck of a year. This is going to be the year that Miami is back at defense and that everybody has been looking for. We're to tackle, hit, wrap, make plays, get turnovers, and make sacks, and this is going to be the year that we've all been looking for." At the time, he was set to join a 3-headed monster in the safety backfield with Cameron Kitchens and Avante Williams. While James Williams had continued to bulk up, new defensive coordinator Kevin Steele was against the idea of moving him to linebacker. He said, quote, "You have to learn something before you can start trying to learn 2 things. That's hard, and not that we ever would with him. We're not all at that point. He's playing safety for now." In 2022, Williams would play in 11 games, making 10 starts. He finished the year with 58 tackles, which was good for second on the team, a TFL, and an interception. Williams was great in 2022 and was all over the field. But the Hurricanes were even worse than the season before, as they'd miss a bowl game and go 5-7 in year 1 under Cristobal. Going into 2023, Williams was listed as a consensus late first round to second round pick, and as I said, he was seen as one of the top prospects for this year's draft class if he could just have one more year. Williams would end up starting 12 games, and this time his defensive coordinator would change again. It went from Kevin Steele to Lance Guidry, and Guidry's defense allowed 41 points per game and finally moved James from safety to linebacker. He sat James down and told him that if he wanted to win in Miami, he would have to move to linebacker. James said, quote, "I kinda knew it was coming, I wasn't scared or anything, and I already knew. I know what the future holds for me and my body, and how much I'm gonna keep growing and keep getting better. I already knew those things, and I've been holding off of it, but now it is time to come to reality and realize what I have to do." James would end up finishing second on the team in total tackles with 73, and 48 of them were solo. He had 1 interception and 2 forced fumbles, and was also credited with 5 pass breakups and 1 fumble recovery. Miami would marginally improve, as they flipped their record from 5-7 to 7-5. Sadly though, they had a losing record in the ACC, and also lost in the Pinstripe Bowl. Despite all the hype, James really had not become one of the top defensive players in college football, and it looked like he could use another year at Miami. Instead of being that second round pick that everyone thought, he was probably going to be a free agent. But he decided to declare anyways, and would put his name into the 2024 NFL draft pool. He was invited to the NFL Combine, where he ran a 4.6 40-yard dash time and had a 30-inch vertical. He did end up getting drafted, but ended up being in the 7th round to the Tennessee Titans. Currently, the Titans listed him as a safety, but gave him the jersey number of 52, which hints at a safety linebacker hybrid role. He honestly wasn't anywhere near the defensive talent people thought he would be coming out of college, but he still made the league and has an opportunity to make it here. What's interesting is I think for multiple reasons he got screwed. In terms of why his stock fell, there are 2 reasons. One, his underwhelming stats. Yes, he put up decent numbers on the team, but he didn't command the defense or just absolutely take over or have those wow moments like many expected due to his insane athleticism coming out of American heritage. Secondly, I think he got put in a tough position, being with multiple defensive coordinators and not deciding where to put him. The fact that he knew he'd always be a linebacker but still played safety those first 2 years and was moved around a ton shows me coaches didn't really know what to do with him. Yes, maybe he was more of a safety, but they told him in order to win, he'd have to play linebacker. It seems like he kind of got screwed over in that regard, as he was bouncing around between multiple positions, not knowing where he was supposed to be, and he couldn't lock in at one spot. Honestly, it's really sad, but based on his potential alone, he got taken by the Titans, and maybe he could be a star. But, in my opinion, that's what happened, is 1, he just wasn't flashy on the field, and 2, he was screwed over by his own coaching staff. But that's just my thoughts. If you're a Miami fan, what went wrong for James Williams, and who's another player I should take a look at next for a stock crash video? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you can support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen, including my video about what happened to Keaton Slovis. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.